So, Honorable Minister, as I said, welcome. You are the first minister we are going to look at. We will be calling you back within the first quarter of this year again on the promises, yes, that the President made on the State of the Nation last year. That concerns your ministry. So please go and look at those promises. If you have not been able to achieve them, do achieve them. If you have difficulties, we'll be writing to you on that one as well, because we will not call the President, and we cannot call the President. But he has made assurances to the public. So we'll be holding the ministers who are expected to execute the mandate of the President on his behalf to do that. And this is to all ministers that we shall be writing to you on what the President told the public last year. So, Honorable Minister, on the 31st of October 2024, they have. On the 31st of October 2024, a question was asked by It's 2025. Yes. 2025. 31st October 2025. A question was asked by Honorable Felicia Ajay, the Member of Parliament for Kintampo. South. Is that right? Am I correct? So a question was asked by Honorable Felicia Ajay, the NDC Member of Parliament for Kintampo South, but Professor Grace Ayensu Dankwa actually sought the permission of the Speaker to ask that question for her. And it's question number 320. The question was very simple. Mr. Speaker, I beg to ask the Minister for Communication, Digital Technology and Innovations when the ministry will provide access to telecommunication and internet connection in the following communities in the Kintampo South constituency. And the communities are listed. Honorable Minister, you gave an answer. And your answer is, Mr. Speaker, the communities mentioned have not yet been captured. However, a drive test exercise will soon be arranged to capture these communities and others in the constituency for subsequent simulations. Such sites that are successful will be connected, and it's at column 60. Honorable Minister, we are 6 months into that promise. Give us an update of your answer.
Thank you very much, Chair. Chair, all the sites that were responded to in question 320, in addition to others in the Kintampo South, have all been surveyed and are currently being simulated. So far, Abitasu, Atakrom, Ayoya, Manise, Sura, Nina Wanso, and Chingakrom have all been acquired pending deployment. Chairman, may I plead with the communities in case I mispronounce their names to forgive me. But those are the communities that have all been acquired, and we've begun the processes to deploy equipment. And just for clarity's sake, when we say a site has been acquired, it means that we've gone to the community, identified where we'll be able to erect the mast, and then the coordinates have been taken. They've been shared with our technical partner, and then feasibility studies are done. Then deployment will be the movement of the tower, the mast, to the location, and then the subsequent supply of the radio transmitters. When the site is deployed, and I'm doing this so that I don't have to repeat it in subsequent answers, because most of the answers are linked to this. When the site is deployed, then we have to operationalize the site. Operationalization of the site will then mean the rural telephony sites have no spectrum of their own, and they have no traffic of their own. They are just basically what you will call repeater sites that transmit network into these rural communities. So after it's been deployed, acquired and deployed, you then do the operationalization with a network. So what you do is you find a mother site. A mother site is your existing tower companies, so either Airtel, Tigo, Telecel, or MTN. And then what you then do is that mother site becomes a donor site to the rural telephony site. You take off spectrum from that site, and it's giving. And most times we do this either using fiber or directly. In some instances, we have to use microwave links and satellite backhaul to do the acquisition. Now, after operationalization, you now have to activate the site, which is to now have traffic pass through the site. So there are a number of steps. There is the site acquisition, there is deployment, there is operationalization, and then there is activation. As we speak in this instance, all the sites that we promised in Parliament have been acquired and captured as promised, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much. So your actual promise was that these sites are yet to be captured. However, a drive test exercise will soon be arranged to capture these communities and others in the community for subsequent stimulation. That's what you said. And you are saying that these sites have been captured. Is that right?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. The drive test has been completed, coordinates picked, it's been simulated. So promise made, promise kept.
Have you started the actual construction?
Chairman, my response is that they are pending deployment. And the promise we made to Parliament was that we were going to do the capture of the sites. That was the promise to Parliament. That we have done. The next phase, which is the deployment, is about to start. But my promise to Parliament was that we're going to capture the sites for simulation. That we have done.
So, honorable members, you've heard the minister. You can go and you are allowed to ask the questions now. The floor is open. The minister made a promise to Parliament that these communities will be captured. It simply means they will go and assess the place, identify the areas, and be sure that this is where they will start the process. He also said that they will do stimulation on some of these communities, subsequent stimulation after that. He's explained that they have captured them and they are doing some stimulations in the area. I don't know whether stimulation will come after you have erected the physical site itself, because at the end, the communities are only interested in the physical site. That small mass that will help the repeated stations we are talking. That's what their interest is. For going to assess and come back, they have no interest. They want to see the physical thing there. So members, please, you can ask questions now. Yes, Deputy Rankin.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you, Honorable Minister. You explained, but I want some clarity here. How do you mean when you say sites are successful, that sites that are successful will be connected?
Sorry, Chair, I'm lost. I didn't say anything about successful sites in my response.
That is column 60 of your answer. That sites that are successful will be connected. I don't understand that when you say a site is successful.
So, you see, you can go to a site, and in one of the subsequent questions, I will come to that. You see a situation there where a site was picked, the coordinates picked, a site was acquired, but connection is not successful. Because you remember I said earlier on that when you pick the rural telephony site, to make it active, you need a donor site. And so you need to look at there are a number of things that we look at. Topography, line of sight for it. And without going into other areas, some of these sites were picked prior to the NDCs coming into office, the locations. where they were supposed to be. So what happened was, this project is an ongoing project that we inherited. A number of communities were promised rural telephony sites. Now we have taken over and we are operationalizing it. A community was promised maybe in October 2024, and as members of parliament, you will understand why such a promise will be made. However, when you go and capture the site, you realize that it cannot be operationalized because there is no donor site within the radius to serve that community. So yes, a promise was made. The site has been acquired, but you cannot operationalize it because there is no donor site around it. So those are some of the challenges that you may face operationally. And so you would have instances where at times you would see the ministry through GIFEC say that we are repositioning a site. And communities may not understand why, but the reason is simply because there's no donor site to connect. Some of those we have to use satellite backhauls to do connectivity, but again, that comes at additional cost. So there are all of those. It's not every site that can be operationalized successfully at the get-go.
Mr. Chair, has there been a situation where the ministry got a location or identified a site and then probably had some challenge with landowners?
That's been one of our biggest challenges, not just for rural telephony, but even when we instruct the main telcos to improve their sites coverage of the country. It's been a major challenge. Once a telecom company or GIFEC through its technical partners come to a community, people see dollar bills and begin to quote prices, even in villages sometimes in US dollars for the land. And so that has been a major challenge in areas like Accra and Kumasi where there's largely traffic congestion. Many of the networks are trying, with giving instructions to them to improve their networks. They've made the capex available in their budgets, but acquisition of the land is either people are worried about the perception of radiation, or secondly, people think that they can make a gold mine out of the site, and so it becomes expensive. So I went to cabinet last year, and the president directed that I should work very closely with my colleague at the Ministry of Local Government, Chieftaincy and Culture, to ensure that in communities where we need to do this deployment, our first collaboration will be with the municipal or district assembly to see if we can utilize government lands that belong to the community or under the purview of the state. For example, if it is a school and we can have a site in the school, at least that's a government, that the school land is government property. Or in some instances, for example, in Accra, for example, we're looking at even cemeteries, public cemeteries, to use those as sites and locations where we can put up the mast so that we can circumnavigate the challenge of the costs of acquisition of land.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. But this is to colleague members of Parliament probably watching us. It's very important that when we invite you as owners of questions, you appear, so that when ministers appear before the committee and then they give their answers, you are able to confirm. That is not to say that ministers will not be telling us the truth, but it is very important that owners of questions also appear before the committee when ministers are here to answer questions. Thank you, Honorable Minister.
Yeah. Once we're started, please. If we go like this, then after that we'll go like this. All right, so please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Honorable Minister, the communities captured in the question 320, can you please take us through again? It seems the answer you gave, the communities you mentioned was different from what is captured in the question.
Honorable,
Thank you.
You read his assurance. He said all the sites in addition to, read the assurance well. You can ask the next question. I'm saying that Okay, please, Minister.
Mr. Chair, our response is clear. That's what the chair was trying to draw the members' mind to. A certain number of communities were mentioned in the question. Our response is that all of them have been captured, and then we mention additional communities. So if you see the additional communities that are different from what was in the question, those are the additional that we did. When we entered the community to do the test drive, we didn't restrict ourselves to just the communities that the MP asked about. There are other rural communities that were not asked about, but also these are requiring services. So it's all the ones in the questions and the additional. So we've actually gone beyond what the promise was. Thank you.
You okay? Yes.
Thank you, Chair. Honorable Minister, I want to thank you so much for promise made and promise kept. Except to ask two questions. The challenges you enumerated, when you went to site, did you find a similar one for these said communities? That probably is a hindrance why we've not been able to move to site directly. You know, what our people are most interested. All the technical works that are done before the physical installation of the issues are very important. But what our people actually need is picking the phone and able to make a call. So for them, once they have not seen the physical structure, nothing has been done for most of them. So can we say it's because of those challenges, that is the reason why you've not been able to physically move to do the installation after you successfully captured the site? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, in this particular situation, we didn't have a challenge with land acquisition. But again, let me just give a bit of clarity that when we do the deployment for this drive test, it's not just one community or one constituency. It's a nationwide process that we're doing. So the equipment move, the teams move, they do all of the site, the coordinate collection and site feasibility studies and all of that. So it's a whole process. When they finish, they come back to Accra, and then we then sit down on a region by region and then constituency by constituency basis to do the necessary works with our technical team at GIFEC. Subsequent to that, you then now have the deployment of the material. So we have the equipment, the poles, we have that, we have the radios as well. But there's a process that this goes through. It's not as though we go to one community, come back to Accra, and then immediately move it. So I appreciate the challenge and the desire for people to be connected immediately. But there's a process we have to go through. And so as we speak now, materials are being deployed to the multiple locations across the country. We're working currently in about 460 sites, which are spread over 10 different regions. So it's a multiplicity of work at the same time. And so that's why 460 sites in 10 different regions in multiple constituencies. Give or take, we're working in about 36 constituencies at the moment. So it's a lot of logistics, moving the equipment and then getting the technical people. So it will take some time, we admit, but it's just the nature of the work.
Thank you, Minister. Not to push you so hard, Minister, can you speak to specific timelines for these communities to be connected? And on a lighter question, most of these requests come through members of parliament, but most often than not, you realize that the technical people get to the constituency, get their feasibility studies done, without even recourse to the MP. You understand this game better. My place was visited. I wrote to you. I visited my brother. My place was visited. But it was only when they left that I got to know that they've come back to my backyard. So sometimes when you also notify us and we pick the funds more, I think it will help. That's a lighter question, but can you speak to the specific timelines? Thank you so much.
Chairman, my brother has indicated that he came with a letter to the ministry, and I didn't hesitate to ask GIFEC move on it for him. Why would he want to lead me into temptation before the whole country to make another promise here so that I'll be hauled back here? One good turn deserves another, my brother. Chairman, I will not make specific commitments on timelines. Reason being, there are a number of processes that are being undertaken, like I said. And so it will be difficult for me sitting here to make a commitment on a specific timeline relative to one community or one constituency when the process is a nationwide deployment. If I do so, it will be some kind of guesswork, and then Chairman will hold me back here and ask me the question. And on that day, you may not be here. So, Chairman, let this cup pass me by. But on the issue of members of parliament, I am fully aligned with committee members and the House as a whole. In fact, any deployment that is done from the Ministry of Communication, Digital Technology and Innovation, Chairman, I make sure that the ministers, the MPs are notified. This may have been an oversight. And in some instances, I personally pick a phone and call the MP and say, my team is in your constituency, go there, let the people see you. But Chair, we must bear in mind that the President has MMDCs, and working as a state institution, our first point of call in every jurisdiction is the MMDC. So we would notify the MMDC, but we'll take it on board. And I'm happy that my administrator from GIFEC is here. He's not a member of parliament, but he would get the sense of the House that every team that goes into the field will notify an MP, so that at least you take your funds. So whether it is rural telephony, whether it is an ICT lab we are doing, or whether it is even the 1 million coders that we're about to deploy, please, as members of parliament, own the project. Own the project. You know what the benefits are going to be for you. I thank you.
But Honorable Minister, the Honorable member is actually just asking that you have gone to 460 sites in 36 constituencies. He's asking whether you have timelines about the entire project. It's not limiting you to just a single constituency. He wants to find out the entire project. Are there any timelines we are going to deal with?
Chairman, we have given the contractor end of second quarter, which will be the end of June, to complete the entire deployment. And let me state that the contractor has been paid and fully mobilized. So there is no impediment when it comes to funds for the contractor. He is fully mobilized to go to site, and we've given them up to the end of second quarter. If there's any delay from the contractor side, we will come back to this House to notify.
Explain why you, in simple language to the ordinary man listening to you, in the 36 constituencies. We will ask you to give us a list of the constituencies so that it will help members track what is going on. But explain in simple terms what you mean by this contractor has been paid for deployment. What does it mean to the ordinary person? What she's supposed to see?
What this means is that we have given the contractor whatever payments are required for the release of the equipment to the various locations. So we are hoping that by end of second quarter, all of the sites will have been deployed. Again, let me be very clear, will have been deployed, which means that the sites would have been erected. And then we are also confident that by end of second quarter, we would have had them integrated with the telecom companies, the donor sites. Mr. Chair, as to the question of activation, that may go a bit further. And activation will be when you can then finally make a phone call, because like I indicated in my earlier submission, you may integrate, but it's not yet activated, because then you now need the community, the donor sites, the network to give you. And Mr. Chair, if for the purposes of clarity, I've just checked my record. We are actually working. We are working in over 47 sites, 47 constituencies. Yes, and if Chair, you would allow me, I can just mention them quickly.
Yeah, go ahead, please.
We're working in the Bole Bamboy constituency. In Bole Bamboy, there are 33 sites. I won't go into the specific communities because that will take too much time. 33 sites in Bole Bamboy. In Sisala East, we are working in 10 communities. That request came from the MCE himself. We are working in 10 communities. In Yilo Krobo constituency, we are working in 1 community. In Jirapa constituency, we are working in 10 communities. In Doma West, we are working in 4 communities. In Kintampo South, which is what I'm answering here, even though the Member of Parliament asked about 6 communities, we are working in 21 communities there. In Awutu Senya West, we are working in 8 communities. In Gomwa West, we are working in 8 communities. Gomwa East, 5 communities. Cape Coast North, 1 community. Shifo Atimokwa, 10 communities. Esukuma Odobin Brakwa, 5 communities. Setre Afram Plains, 15 communities. North Tong constituency, 15 communities. Bia West constituency, 5 communities. Krachi East, another 5 communities. Guan constituency, 15 communities. Pru West, 7 communities. Ho Central, 4 communities. Wasa East, 10 communities. Yape Kusol, 2 communities. Adaklu, 10 communities. Ebura Asebu, Kwaman Kese, 15 communities. Sisala West constituency, 29 communities, and that's my deputy minister's constituency. Shamar, and I see the Minister for Fisheries sitting behind me, 10 communities. In Ejumako Enyan Esiam, 14 communities. Wa West, 10 communities. Ketu North, 10 communities. Nadoli Kalio constituency, 6 communities. In Birim North, 14 communities. Ketu South, 10 communities. Sene West, 3. Salaga South, 10. Awin, 6. Cape Coast South, 8. Commander Edina Eguafo, Ebirim, 10. Aguna West, 5. Ahanta West, 10. Brekum East, the Honorable Member's constituency, 5. Kintampo North, 10. Lambusi, 5. Equiapim South, 5. Nkranza South, 10. Hohoi, 4. Sunyani East, 5. Esujaman, 3. And in these communities, that is 421 sites. Then we have a number of sites in other constituencies that were specifically worked on by GIFEC, and they include Bimbila. In Bimbila, we are working in 11 communities, your constituency, Chairman. In Akontombra, we are working in 3. In Krachi West, 2. Tatale Sanguli, 2. Tamale South, 6. Nantong, 5. Sagnerigu, 2. Mian, we are working in 6. Wulensi, we are also working in 5, bringing a total of 460 sites. So, Chair, you see the spread, and that's why it is difficult at times to say that, oh, in 2 weeks we can just come to one place and complete. But we are confident that by end of Q2, we will be in a position where all of the sites would have been deployed and we can begin to work on integration and activation. Thank you.
Q2 is 31st of June.
30th of June. 30th of June, that's correct, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Honorable Minister, I just wanted to know, when you were mentioning the constituencies and their numbers, I realized that some had more than others. Is it based on the request that came in from MPs or MCs, or is as a result of how big the constituency is? Thank you very much.
Chairman, I'm laughing because my honorable sister brought me a list of almost 78 communities in her constituency. If I was to do the list she brought, more than 1/3 of the entire national coverage would have gone to just her constituency. So we received over 80 applications from over 80 constituencies. It's a matter of funds, and it's also an issue of trying to touch the most critical areas. So I think in her constituency we are doing about 10 or 15, 11. We are doing 10, but this is a phased project, and we are hopeful that as funds are made available, we'll be able to come in there and hopefully do another 25 or something. But it's a funds issue, and the number of requests we've gotten, Chairman, if Parliament imposed on the finance minister to give us funds for 10,000 sites, maybe then we can cover the whole country. But in the absence of those funds and what we have to share it like Obatampa for every one of our children to get something small to hold body. Thank you.
Okay, so honorable members, we need to speed up. He has 5 more questions, so this is just question number 1. Okay. Yes, so we'll go to Deputy, then Honorable Tampole, and you. Then we'll come to this side.
Yes, Honorable Minister, you see, before we started the sitting, I had a brief discussion with you regarding a letter I sent in. It was since last year. You came to Bole, Sola, just Bole and Sola. The letter came since last year, and I indicated to you, especially the Buniri area there, from Calabar, Buniri, Goyiri, those areas, you get there and as if you are not in the country. Even Sola District Assembly, if you are in Sola District Assembly, you can receive a call. You just got to Bole, you passed Sola, went to them and go and went those areas. What was the criteria?
Mr. Chair, let me be clear. There is no malice intended. Mr. Chair, giving the restrictive amount, the restrictions in terms of funding and the number of sites that we had, I dealt on this on a first come, first served basis. It was a first come, first served basis. We still have a number, like I said, I have received from about 80 MPs, but we're doing only the first 46 because we literally did first come, first serve. But Honorable, like I assured you, we are awake to some of the challenges. And I mean, in my conversation with you, we spoke about the recent security challenges that happened in your constituency and the need for some of those interventions. All of the interventions cannot come from government through rural telephony sites. And that's why at the ministry, working through the regulator, we've asked the network operators to roll out new sites. And Chair, because this is almost like a public interest question, this year alone, and at the just ended Mobile World Conference in Barcelona, I met with the CEOs, the group CEOs of the 2 major telcos that are running in the country, the Telecel group. And they made a commitment to 350 new sites in Accra alone this year, which they will roll out, new sites, new logical sites in Accra. MTN had made a pledge of 500 sites for the whole country. When I met with the CEO and we spoke, he agreed, given the challenges that we have, to add another 300. So now we are going to see 800 new sites this year. To put this in perspective, Chairman, in the last 10 years, we have not even had 500 new sites from any of these telcos put together in the last 10 years. So in 1 year, between the 2 telcos, we are looking to see about 1,150 new sites coming up to ease congestion and to also do coverage. Because, Chair, we realize that in urban areas, the city is growing. If you stay in a place like Amasaman, and when the NTA does its drive test, or even in Ponkatamanso, Honorable Joti's constituency, the places where the cell sites were put are the old towns. And now the towns have grown. So you go to the new sites and there is no network coverage there because there are no new cell sites there. So working with the NCA, we are trying to map out all of these sites. But I can assure the Honorable Deputy Ranking that some of those sites are going to be strategically positioned along our border towns to ensure that the issue of cross-country interference of networks, we're going to be mandating the telcos to put some of the 1,150 new sites that are coming up in this area. So you may even end up getting not a rural telephony site, but a main telecom site in that area. So be rest assured that we are not sleeping on it and we haven't lost track. And there was absolutely no malice intended that we intentionally skipped Solar. Absolutely not. Thank you.
All right. So at the end, I will ask you a follow-up question on this, but I will allow others to ask. Tampole.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Anyami, Mr. Chairman, I have one specific question regarding my constituency and a general question. So you mentioned the number of constituencies that you are working in various regions. I noticed that in Northern region, you didn't mention the name of my constituency, whether there's still ongoing work. Now, my question is, from your records, is it that the work is completed, or you don't have any records at all about what's going on in Nawugu, Namwangbani, the Nakunga, Zantele, Yamo Karaga, which is in Karaga actually, but it's just sharing boundaries with my constituency. And then Nalau, I don't know what you have in your records. So that's just the first question. Second question is the consideration for deployment. Some of the consideration for our requests, for instance, have to do with armed robbery occurrences happening in some blind spots where you have intermittent networks availability and so on and so forth. And up to date, armed robbers are still killing people along those corridors, and due in part to the absence of network for them to be able to make, distress calls. Only a couple of weeks, just about 2-3 weeks ago, my district commander told me about an incident of armed robbery, and they couldn't reach anybody. So you need to have regard for areas where we have these incidents of robbery due to the blind spots that we have in those areas, among other considerations. But I want you to consider very strongly areas where we have these incidents, and the records will be there. Every member of parliament can specifically give you areas where they think that these are, specific areas that you should intervene as a matter of urgency. I thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Chairman, thank you. I thought that when my brother came in, he was just going to say hi to me and not give me new Ayeka questions. But Chair, let's be clear. The constituencies and the communities, the 460 I spoke about, are the current phase. And I indicated that this is a project we inherited. And so you are talking about a total of 2,016 sites. So Gushegu is part of the earlier batches. So this 460 are new, what you call verging sites that we are now going to. But in the case of Gushegu, it is part of the other 1,600 sites that are either completed or under construction. So the whole project is 2,016 sites. What I have just discussed is the last 460 sites that are now being deployed. So that's why you won't hear Gushegu, but in our records we are working in Gushegu to complete those sites. Chair, I would urge this committee, as part of your report, if the chairman and the committee members find it so fit, to make a case for rural telephony as a national security imperative, that it is extremely expedient that funds that are commensurate to the requests and the needs are made available to us. Last year we had a budget of 70 million Ghana cedis. This year we have a budget of 30 million Ghana cedis for rural telephony. So it is incumbent on the House, to make the case as part of your reports in plenary. And as a member of this House, I have seen the power of this House when it comes to allocations, the power of the House vis-a-vis the exchequer to make certain allocations, so that it is not a Ministry of Communication pet project. But as you've highlighted, the implications of us not getting the resources required for Computer and his team to do the deployments that are needed go way beyond people just saying hello, hi. And Mr. Chairman, on a lighter note, I saw a video that's trending where a lady said when they brought her Wi-Fi, it allowed them to be able to send nude videos to their boyfriends and keep their boyfriends. So some people use the telecom connectivity we are bringing to be able to keep their relationships. Some also need them to be able to transact business or stay safe and contact emergency responses. So the desire and need of telecom services ranges from relational to economic to national security. So I beg the committee to make the case for us. Thank you.
So, honorable members, you will realize that we are keeping, we are allowing some bit of time on this question because almost all the questions are related. So when we get to the other questions, they'll be very, very short because the background to most of the other questions are in what he's already given us. So I want you to have that. But when are you rolling out the second phase of the rural telephony? After these 460 sites?
Mr. Chair, this is actually the second phase. This is called the RTP2. So there was an RTP1 project under the Mills Mahama administration with Honorable Haruna Idrisu as minister. It spilled over into the Mahama Emisata administration where Dr. Edward Omanibuama of blessed memory was minister and completed the RTP1. Then he started the processes for the RTP2 facility, didn't complete it, and then the Honorable Esla Owusu under the Akufo-Addo Bawumia administration came and completed the facility for RTP2 and brought it to Parliament, if my memory serves me right, in 2020 or 2021 for 2,016 sites. Now, those sites have been rolled out, and what is left is the 460 that we are rolling. So this is the concluding phase of RTP2. The ministry has already begun conversations on an RTP3 project. But the RTP3 project for us is not just rolling out new sites. Mr. Chair, we've done an analysis of what we've inherited from my predecessors. Most of the RTP sites, the rural telephony sites, are basically configured for 2G and 3G maximum. So it's basically voice calls. Internet connectivity is very sketchy on those networks. In today's world, and when we're talking about the digital divide, I find it unconscionable that we will continue to say we are connecting our rural communities and depriving them from access to the internet superhighway. So RTP3 is actually going to be focused on rolling out a minimal number of new sites, but focused more on upgrading all the existing RTP1 and RTP2 sites to 4G, 5G. So that in the rural communities, they can then get the access. So I would rather, even they say Sam George did not do any new sites, but then give all the existing sites high-speed connectivity of 3G, 4G and 5G. That way we know that we've really given proper connectivity to our people. But if we just keep rolling out 2G, Mr. Chair, I think that it's not fair for us as a country to say that we are connecting a community and we connect them only to 2G, which is only voice enabled. And in today's world, a lot more happens on the internet than just with voice calls. So we are beginning to look at working around an RTP3 project that will include a few new rural telephony sites, but will be heavily focused on an upgrade of existing RTP1 and RTP2 sites to be able to do 4G and 5G as the state is moving to roll out 5G this year. Thank you.
Yes, colleagues, any more questions? Yes, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mine is not a question, it's just a suggestion, my brother. I know your capabilities, I know what you can do. It's all about money. But my concern is that I would suggest to you that instead of giving maybe one constituency 21 sites or 10 or 15, I suggest that maybe you share it evenly so that everyone can get, maybe if it's 2-2 or 3-3 or whatever number, so that everyone can have. For instance, in my constituency or in my area, we have Sexual Farm Plains, then we have Afam Plains South, that's my constituency, and Afam Plains North. Now, the first timer, that's Sexual Farm Plains, she has gotten a number of sites, and me who has been here for 3rd term hasn't gotten one. So in this case, it put pressure on the MP. Now, this is a general suggestion. It put a pressure on the next door MP because it looks like that MP is not performing. So I think we should share it in a way that everybody will have maybe some. Thank you.
Chairman, we are guided. We would look at it and see how well there can be enough to go around everybody, but we are guided. Thank you, Chair.
Yes, it's Honorable Minister. Yes.
Chairman, mine is not to ask a question. I think I've been in several meetings that discuss this particular issue. And I know how passionate the minister and the team is concerning this RTP. In fact, I remember the first time I attended the meeting, I was bombarded with this abbreviation, RTP. So I asked myself, what is RTP? Later, before I got to know that it stands for rural telephony. So I will commend them for the good job that they are doing. In fact, our committee is allowed for us to do site visitations. So I would suggest that at the right time, maybe we'll come and look at some of the areas so that we understand the work proper. Thank you.
Honorable Minister, the rest of the questions are basically tied to this. We'll go through them, but you should be short in your answers. The assurances you are giving us, the committee will take a visitation site to almost all of them to have a look at them. But I think that if we have an opportunity. Which one? Oh, but he's given us some assurances and the names and the quantity. So we'll go through all of them. But take what with all seriousness, the suggestion by the Honorable Minister. Because if you have two constituencies, Honorable Member, if you have two constituencies, right, like the Sisala areas, one is getting 29, one is getting 5, you will know the pressure on the other colleague. When one, basically, the network is all done and the other one is not done, it will be a big problem. Just to say that next time, my committee will be writing to you for pictorial evidence to show it to the public. It enhances our work. And so we will look at the pictorial evidence. Remember that 30th of June, after that, we'll call you back, but that will demand pictorial evidence. And then the members, the 47 members will be here, where you say, including myself, because we'll go for the 11 sites. If you would not mind, let your ministry share with the committee clerk the various constituencies and the communities, so that the members can monitor, or this committee can monitor community by community and see whether the contractors are working. I know that your team is very competent, and so if you are able to achieve this, it will help all of us a lot. And then for the private companies, I don't know whether you will be able to talk to them, but take into consideration the security zones of this country when they are deploying the 800 new sites for the MTN, and also even the Accra areas that you are trying to fill up these holes. But the security zones are very important for all of us, because at the end of the day, you want to make sure that this country is safe, and we have a lot of security pressure on all our borders. And this is one of the things that can help us. So we take one of the recommendations we'll do is to make sure that this project is completed, and we'll push for more resources for your ministry and the GIFEC to get resources to ensure that they do their work well. Because if they're able to succeed, I can tell you Ghanaians are very sharp in trying to give information. If they see it, because we have this, if you see something, say something. And the only way is to make sure that they are able to communicate. And if they can, I can tell you the Ghanaians they will sleep peacefully. They will help the security agencies to sleep peacefully. So we'll push for it. You have a big case. And our resources should be pushed to quickly finish this. It's very important for us as a country if we can get this quickly done, so that we are secure. Know that even if you are at even the lowest, or even the little community that has only 2 communities, they can speak to somebody. They can also go on the internet and they can send information. They can send WhatsApp. It's very important. Honorable Minister. Honorable Minister, like I said, you have 4 more questions. They are all tied to it. The virtually same question. But for the sake of the individuals, we will go through the questions. Kwame Apia Kodua, MPP MP for Frontier Kwa North. He asks you when the rural telephony will be completed in the following communities: Apa, Aboho, Dominasi, Abuaso, Dua Police, and Dua Police. These are the questions. Honorable Minister, if you can go through them.
Mr. Chair, Oboho, Dua Police, Aboso, and Dominbase sites have been constructed and integrated. Work is ongoing to operationalize the site. So it means the poles have been erected, the radios have been put there, they've been integrated with the network. All that is left now is for traffic to pass through them, and that's from the mother sites. So that's where we are on those ones. And in my answer, I made the case that APA and Dominasi had not yet been captured, but we've done that now and integrated the sites. I thank you, Chair.
It's important for our colleagues to be here, because if the minister says that the posts have been erected, it's been integrated, it's just for the activation. If the member were here, it would have helped us a lot. Any question on this? Otherwise, we'll go to the next question. Yes.
Thank you, Chairman.
The Vice Chairman has a question.
Minister, thank you for your responses. I would want to find out, you said activation is always a problem. What are you doing in that regard? After constructing the site, if there's no activation, it becomes useless.
So a big part of the challenge we've had with the operationalization or activation of the sites has been when, after you've integrated with the network has to give capacity or spectrum resources to the local site. It's two-pronged. One, the networks are challenged with the congestion on their network, and so bringing on new customers for them is always, they want to prioritize, because again, they feel that in the urban areas or major cities, the customers there pay more than rural communities. But I mean, we work with them and insist on them to do the integration. But the biggest challenge we have, Chair, is that, you know, the RTP sites are roaming sites. So you can be on any network of your choice. Now, in some instances, in fact, in many instances, you realize that many of the donor sites belong to Telecel or AT. Now, if they use their spectrum and connect the rural telephony site, and the site is a roaming site, so it means they are sharing their resource with GIFEC on that site in the community. What we've realized is most of the customers choose to be on a different network. So, because of quality of service. So, it's as though chairman is sharing his resources with vice chair, so that vice chair gets connectivity. Meanwhile, it is when vice chair gets the connectivity, he doesn't use the service of chairman to pay chairman. He chooses to roam on deputy ranking's network instead, and the money goes to deputy ranking. So that's where we are getting a lot of challenge. So because that's beginning to happen a lot, you see some of the other networks, especially the other two networks, being hesitant in being donor sites, because they feel that they are rather strengthening the capacity of a third player. So these are some of the technical things we are having to deal with to figure out how do we do the settlement. And between GIFEC and the regulator, the NCA, we are working on some solution to this. But this is an institutional thing that we've come to realize is part of the reason why they are hesitant in operationalizing the sites actively or with alacrity. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. So we'll go to the next question. Question is on the same day, basically the same day. Question 393. Mr. Speaker, I beg to ask the Minister for Communication, Digital Technology and Innovations the status of the rural telephony project and the plans of the Ministry for the improvement of network service coverage in Heman Lower Denshra.
Mr. Chair, 8 sites have been built and integrated in the Heman Lower Denshra constituency. Just want to give specifics. 4 of the sites in Ankako, Tafredwa, Ampimkrom, and Anhiam are currently up and operational. Jankobo, Chepiase, Nyamibetre, and Nyameyadum sites have technical challenges which are being investigated by GIFEC's technical partner doing the deployment. And in this case, when I say technical challenges, Mr. Chairman, the specifics in this particular matter are connectivity between the RTP site and the donor site. So it's a typical example of what I said. Some sites were allocated in the lead up to the election. Now we have gone to integrate, build a site, and now you can't get a donor site. So in those 4 instances, we are trying to see if we could use satellite backhaul to do the connectivity for them.
So you say that the 4 sites, the people can confirm that they've been connected and they are working. Is that correct?
Yes, sir, they are operational.
And the other sites, you are having challenges because of the mother sites that are not there.
Sites have been installed, but no mother site, so we are trying to use satellite backhaul for those.
When will that be done?
Chair, I can't give a specific time. The GIFEC team, like I said, it's not just, it's beyond us. It's technology, and we're working with our technical partners. The scope of their work was to connect from other sites. So when you have to do, for want of a better phrase, bypasses, these are conversations and negotiations that have to be had. So I can't sit here and give a specific timeline relative to when the technical partners can complete those discussions.
Will you want to work with the telephone companies, MTN and Telecel and the others, what they want to roll out to fill in these gaps?
So that's a possibility that we can explore.
I think you should.
Well noted, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Any other question on this? All right, we'll go to the next question. Alasa Mumuni, I think it's Salaga North, is that right? Yes. He asked you, Mr. Chair, Mr. Speaker, I beg to ask the Minister for Communication, Digital Technology and Innovations the steps the ministry is implementing to improve communication network in the following electoral areas: Bavin, Latimpa, Bunjai, Dagboshe, Dacier. Honorable Minister.
Mr. Chair, the Bawin Lantikpa sites have been built, they are operational and are currently passing traffic, so people can make phone calls in those sites. In Bavin Dagboshe, the site has also been built. The site was operationalized, but we had power spikes at the site that resulted in the burning of the radio units. So the technical partners are working to replace and restore those sites. But in the other sites, they are operational and working. Thank you, Chair.
Honorable Minister, I would say that the Bunjai Dagboshe area, in fact the general Bunjai area, I would urge you to speed up work on it. It falls into the security challenges. If you ever travel between Salaga and Tamale, that zone is within that area. And it's sometimes you can go long distances and the reception is very, very poor. And if you have, even though the road now is completely tarred, if you have people who don't think good about this nation, they can use it to cause problems for all of us. I don't want to give them an impression, but they can really cause problems. So if you can speed up work on this, it will really help.
We're guided, Chairman.
Yes, any question on this? All right, the member is not here, so we'll move to the Sanjan Naja. I think Sanjan Naja asked the question on behalf of Emmanuel Ntekuni, Pru West. He asked Mr. Speaker, I beg to ask the Minister for Communication, Digital Technology and Innovations the plans the ministry has for the improvement of telecommunication network services in the following towns and communities in the Pru West constituency. Adaraja Biposo, Dembaya, Sinyansi, Faumai, Kamampa, Brokrom. It's not Bronicrom, it's Broncrom. Then Ofirambo or something like that. Then Ankara Kuka. These are the communities the member asked for the improvement of telecommunication services. Give us an assurance, and so I want to find out where we are today.
Mr. Chair, all the sites in the Pru West constituency except Senyasi, all the sites except Senyasi have been surveyed. The coordinates have been submitted to the technical partner for simulation. Senyasi will be surveyed before the end of this month. Thank you, Chair.
All the sites have been surveyed except Senyasi. You are assuring Parliament that Senyasi will be surveyed before the end of the month?
Yes, Mr. Chair. The team is actually on the field there. That's how come they've been able to do some and it's just left at that one. They are currently working as we speak.
Going to do installations like the others by the 30th of June?
Yes, they are supposed, all of this, Mr. Chair, I need to check if this falls within the 460. I need to cross-check to be sure, because the end of June promise we've made is relative to the 460 sites that I spoke about. So I need to confirm if these sites are part of the 460. So pending that confirmation, I will not be able to give you a timeline, because the 30th of June 2026 promise we've made is relative to the 460 sites. Thank you, Chair.
Yes, this is his last question. So, honorable members, if you have any other question, please let us. Otherwise, we will discharge the minister. Yes. Ablukumanoff.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Honorable Minister, my good brother. So, presently, 460 sites, over 10 regions, 47 constituencies, and more, hopefully. Yeah. And last year, you were allocated 70 million. And this year, 30 million.
Next year, too.
Next year, it could be more or less. However, I just want to know, what assurance can you provide that these projects will not be abandoned or unduly delayed? And how frequently can you update Parliament on progress of work? I hope you won't leave here angry at your own sister. Thank you.
That's going to be a matter for the House. We'll meet at home and discuss it. but Chair, I can make the firmest assurances that President Mahama is very committed to ensuring that the ministry delivers on rural telephony. In fact, it's one of the things that once I get the opportunity to meet the president, I'm a bit jittery before he starts, because there are specific constituencies he mentions and communities when I speak with him, because he says that in some of those communities on his campaign, people told him that he should try and make a call. He said one of the communities, the chief told him to make a call and see if it will go through. He did everything, it didn't go through. Then the chief told him to wait. Asked one of the boys to climb a tree and said, make the call. And the call went through. So he keeps reminding us about it. And so I can assure you that's one of the KPIs that I cannot sleep on. And that's why I have a competent lieutenant heading GIFEC, Tanko Rashid Computer, who's working round the clock with his team. Sorry, did you say he's your nemesis? Computer is your nemesis, okay. But I have a competent gentleman who is leading the charge at GIFEC, and I can make those assurances that this project will not be abandoned. Mr. Chair, I can state on record that the president himself intervened to ensure that before the end of December, the 70 million that was allocated for rural telephony last year was disbursed. Personally made that intervention. That's how important this means to him. And I can assure you that the 30 million is to complete, the reason why it's 30 million is to complete, it's a needs-based thing. We are completing RTP2. There's a certain amount that was needed over the 2 years to complete it, 100 million. So 70 million was done last year, 30 million this year. This year, if they gave us beyond 30 million, the finance minister would have been allocating in excess of what was required per the contract for RTP2. So let it not be that anyone will say the government is downplaying the value of rural telephony. I'm confident that going into next year, when we are done with RTP2 and we want to start RTP3, Mr. Chairman, that project, the RTP2 was a 155 million euro contract. I'm sure that we'll be seeing something in the region of about 160, 170 million for the upgrades that we want to do on RTP3 in next year's budget. I'm very confident that we'll see solid and commitments to it. So, my dear sister, we will not fail in delivering on the RTP2 projects, and be rest assured, Chairman, that with your support on the floor of the House, government will deliver for the good of our people. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, for Honorable Minister, for the records, so you said that you allocated 70 million last year, and you allocated 30 million this year. Now, regardless of whether funds were released or not, your budget has been slashed almost 60%. Is that correct?
Mr. Chair, that's not correct.
From 70 million to 30 million, what would you consider to be the percentage it dropped?
Mr. Chair, my lawyer, I know my lawyer is a lawyer, but at least basic maths. If what you needed to complete the project was 100 million, and in 2025, you were giving 70 million, 100 million minus 70 million is how much? 30. Is it not 30 million? How is that a drop?
Mr. Chairman, you have mentioned a number of ongoing projects. You understand? And that amount clearly can't meet the budget that you have. So clearly there's a slash. They should have been giving you way more than they even gave you previously. Otherwise, then you shouldn't be here asking us to support you to get more money.
Chairman, let us be clear. The project RTP2 did not, and I gave the history from RTP1, starting from the Mills Mahama, through Mahama Emisata, through Nana Baumia, and now Mahama Jenana. The RTP2 project came to Parliament for approval in 2021 as a 155 million euro project funded by China Exim, if I'm not mistaken, but it was a Chinese facility. Along the line, the Chinese government, the Chinese facility was withdrawn when the debt, the COVID and the debt restructuring happened. A portion had been disbursed, a portion was left undisbursed. The government of Ghana took on the remaining portion of the 155 million. So the project has a scope and a cost. Monies have been paid since the government of Ghana took over to the contractor. And what is left to complete the 155 million euros for the entire project is 100 million. 70 was released last year. So what is left is 30 million. You cannot release, Mr. Chairman, Parliament will have to summon the finance minister and myself if the finance minister made allocations over and beyond what Parliament approved for rural telephony. So the 30 million is not a slash. It's the remaining commitment of the 155 million contract that we inherited. The request I have made to the committee, Chair, is that the 2016 sites, of which these 460 are part of, which form the 155 million euro bulk, has not covered all the communities that need rural telephony. So we need to impress on the government through the finance ministry to make allocations for an RTP3 so that we can cover all the other sites that you are talking about. So that's the appeal I'm making to you, to say that, look, rural telephony should not just be seen as a pet project of the Ministry of Communication, but it has its related benefits for the state. But the 70 million and 30 million bring to a close the 155 million euro contract that I inherited. I hope it's clear.
So, Honorable Minister, your assurances were basically on rural telephony. And you have assured us that the project that started in the first NDC administration, not the second NDC administration, with a total of 2016, no, not 2016. They did some, but under the Akufo-Addo presidency, the target was 2016 communities. Some were left, and those that were left were 460. You are completing those 460. Is that the case? And you are hoping that by June you have completed it. The outstanding resources you needed was 100 million. Last year they gave you 50 million, 70, and this year they are giving you 30 million. So you have all the resources.
That's correct, Chairman.
Is that right?
Yes, for this RTP2.
Have they released the 30 million to you as well?
We have received the comment. We have not even commitment authorization because it's an ongoing program. Allotment. allotment for Q1 and Q2 to the tune of 19 million has been done. So it's now left for us. But Mr. Chair, I am clear in my mind that until I see the contractor do the deployment of the sites after he received the 70, we will not be paying any further money, because what we have paid is good enough to see the sites all deployed pending operationalization. Then we make the remaining releases to the contractor.
All right. So, Honorable Minister, we will be getting back to you. This is very important for the people. Communication is very important for our people. It's also very important for the security of this nation. We'll be getting back to you on this subject matter after June. Otherwise, I'll congratulate you and your team. You have satisfied our curiosity and answers, and just hope that we will do what is needful on the floor by advocating for more resources for RTP 3, which would not just include the normal telephone calls, but also the internet, as you have advocated. For me, it's very, very important that we're able to do that for our people. If our people can just communicate amongst themselves and communicate what they see and be able to access internet, then when they are going to recruit the next time, they say go onto the internet and do recruitment, they will be able to do it, not like what they are doing currently. So you are discharged, Honorable Minister. Congratulations.